Small Business Tip Show, episode 22. Hi, this is Frank Thomas, Small Business Tip Show. With me, I have Nancy Bover. We're picking up on our series, the new Entrepreneur series. Again, we're going to be talking about part 2 of building your business plan. Stay tuned. Welcome to part number 2. We're back talking about building your business, and if you're looking to start a small business, this is the show, this is the course for you, because we have been talking about different facets, and this show we're going to be talking about part number 2 on building a business plan. If you haven't listened to part number 1, please step back to the previous show, take the time to listen to it, or some of the concepts and things we're talking about are not going to make any sense to you. Nancy, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be part of the part 2 here, Frank. How are you doing?
Oh, absolutely great. Absolutely great. So building a business idea, to kind of recap very quickly, we were talking about the fact that a business plan is essential because it is going to be the cornerstone of our business. It's going to be what presents our business on paper. It's something we can give to somebody else, and we can build financial statements from it. We can build advertising or marketing statements or marketing plans from it. But it's really the cornerstone of our business.
Absolutely. It's the foundation from which everything else flows.
Mm-hmm. So going forward, one of the things that we have to realize is because it is a foundation, it's very important for us to get as much into that business plan as physically possible. And it could be little things, like little esoteric things, like, what are your support hours? We were talking about that on the last show. And it could also be big things like, what am I selling? What's my core concept of this business? What's my reason for being? But you allow that business plan to evolve and to develop, and you're going to find it's going to really help you out. One of the biggest points or places that's going to help you out is if you know what your business plan stipulates your product. It helps give you an idea of your costs, your needs for your business. It gives you a timeline, and I think the timeline is one of the most important things. Nancy, you were mentioning in the last show about busy work. It is so easy to get caught up in busy work that does nothing to take you forward. It's just shuffling paper on your desk to make you feel that you're busy, but you're really not accomplishing anything. I believe your business plan should be so evolved that it has a timeline attached to it, which makes you accountable.
Well, I think, Frank, in the last show as well, we talked about the fact that there are so many resources available to assist you with building out your business plan. I remember when I did my first business plan back online. Of course, my first business plan was with pen and paper, but after that, once we got into the short-term and long-term business goals, figuring out how to do your financial projections, all those kinds of things, and of course, the executive summary.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, and you can use software. You don't have to use software. Really and truthfully, as we mentioned in the last show, the real critical components are a pen and a piece of paper. Those are your most critical components when it comes to developing a business plan, in my opinion, because it gives you the ability to take technology. I love technology, but sometimes you just got to get it off the table because it's distracting. Sometimes it's problematic. Pen and paper just works. If your pen dies, you always can grab a second pen and continue on. It's very simple.
Yeah, there's always the danger that if you're on your computer that you get that little notification about an email and suddenly you're off there watching cat videos, right?
Isn't that the truth? Boy, it got too deep into my personal life just now. But and what is important though is that the business plan is going to help you focus and to timeline where you need to be and make your commitments when you need to make them. For example, one of the things that came out of my planning and my business plan as a whole was that I projected my profit earnings that I need to make on a piece of software. And so for my business to be, I consider successful, I wanted a 3 to 4 month window on profits to develop the next product. And that gives me, because I know it takes me about 3 months to get the initial product developed and out the door. And it's going to take time to market it and everything else. So I might have to reproject because I'm discovering it is taking more time to do things. But we need to ensure that our profit margins are strong enough to sustain us when we're building, because it's easy to um, do really well and all of a sudden have all these profits and then blow them, and then you have a month or so where you don't really make a lot of money because you're between products. You're trying to build new affiliations to sell your product through, new suppliers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The and Or even you're just developing a whole new piece of your business, and that takes time. Everything takes time, so you have to make sure you think of these things and put them into your timeline. And uh, cat videos are great, but boy, they are time suckers.
Hmm.
It's we're using that as just as an example, but it's really easy to get stuck. You could say, I remember there's one fellow, he was starting a new business, and I was talking to him one day, and I said, well, how are things going? And he goes, I'm not started yet. I go, why not? He says, well, I haven't got my business card yet. I'm waiting for my business card.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Get out there and start selling. And if anything, what happens if they ask for a business card? Say to them, when you come back next time to sign the contract, because you didn't sign it the first time, you'll give them a business card then. And you just need to get out there. You need to make it happen. And you cannot let these things hold you back. And if you've got a business plan, you'll know this. You'll see it. You'll see that, having a nice letterhead's great. Having a great website's great. Having all these wonderful things are great, but they're not necessary to the bottom line. They help, but they are not necessary to that bottom line. What's necessary is you get your next step done. And you get your
Hmm.
next step done. You continue to walk down that path, and you use your business plan to adjust. Because as you're building a business, it's like doing a waltz: 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But the important thing is you're making steps forward. That's at the end of the day, you want to look at your business plan, because your business plan should have a timeline on it when you're developing it. And you should be able to see that you're making your timelines. Now, if you're not, you need to reevaluate your business plan, and you need to reevaluate if what you're doing is realistic. I remember, Nancy, when I started developing this first piece of software, I said to my partner, oh, 2 weeks, man, I'll knock it out. No problem.
Yeah.
3 months later, we finally released the basic version of the software. And it wasn't because of anything other than the fact that life happens
Hmm.
and things take time, and you'll get stuck, and you're stuck for 3 days on a problem. And it's really easy in those times to go, oh, I just rather watch cat videos, because this is killing me. Um,
I learned a long time ago. What I do with my timelines is I usually take what I think the time frame that I think it'll take me to do something, to accomplish something, and then I add about 10% to it. And
oh,
believe it or not, even doing that, I end up still probably undershooting the mark most of the time.
I was going to say, I thought you for sure you're going to say just going to double the time, because that's what it normally takes. But experience will tell you, will show you, is sometimes, and that's a good question. I'm sure somebody's asking out there is, well, what happens if I don't know how long it's going to take? Well, estimate, estimate it, write it down. And if you shoot too far from the mark, then you make sure you base your plans, you adjust your figures based upon realistic figures. Or if you can get it done quicker, make those adjustments that way as well.
It's just like a budget. You build in a contingency.
Hmm. You always have to, and you have to and part of your business plan is the money aspect. How are you going to handle profits? How are you going to be paying out? What's your holdback times? What are your hard costs to do transactions? I know in our business, there's anywhere from 4 to 10% hard costs that I can't get around. That's the cost of doing business. If I want to take somebody's credit card in the States, then I got to pay that money. There's just no way
Yep.
around it. There's hard costs to bringing in suppliers because they want to cut too. So, and you have to figure those things out. And it's amazing. We built a plan on pricing and found that it didn't work. In initial testing, it didn't fly. Even though the product was cheap up front, in the long run, people felt that they didn't want to get hemmed into a monthly payment plan.
And that was something
And
that really surprised me, Frank, as somebody who had been one of your early beta testers on
Mhm.
this software. That really did surprise me that that model didn't work. I felt that it was something that I would have certainly agreed to,
Mhm.
because a lot of times I know that I find it easier to pay a monthly subscription fee as opposed to a bigger upfront cost. But I guess it depends on the product and
It
the time
is. It
and the
does.
audience, right?
Yeah. The actual price we're charging for the product is almost the fee of the year of having that subscription. So people are more responsive to paying that upfront and just being done with it
Yeah.
than they're paying a monthly, which in some ways surprises me. In some ways, it doesn't. So it was, again, it was only through testing. And that's an important part of your business plan too, is you need to be testing. Test. You have an idea, you think it's great, your focus group thinks you got it, man. You've knocked it out of the park. Now try selling it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, your sales will either tell you whether or not your idea is good because your customer will become more defined. I've always said that you've always got to imagine when you're building your business plan, you're actually building an image of your customer, how you're going to satisfy their problem, how you're going to be their problem solver, but you're building that image that you can see your customer. And when you're testing and you're redefining your business plan and redefining your product and how it's priced and how you do your product, etc., what happens is it's like somebody's taking a cloth and they're cleaning that dirty glass so you can see through it better and see your customer better. And it's important to be responsive to that and also to make adjustments in your business plan for that.
Frank,
Uh,
I just wanted to make the point here too about cost and adapting, testing your pricing model, your pricing structure, and adapting it. Be very careful that you're not doing knee-jerk reactions as well out there.
mhm.
Um, I know that when you did your testing and you're adjusting, it's not like two people came and said, "I'm not going to do this." You tested it over a period of time at what was it, two or three different price points
Yeah, we've
before you
actually
found
tried.
the sweet spot. So it's not like Joe Blow came to me and he said that he would hire me if I discounted 10%, and then Sally Smith came and she wanted me to give an extra week for free. You don't adapt and adjust for each of those individual cases. What you do is you figure out what the sweet spot is.
You've hit the nail on the head, and it's important to do that. And you're right. It took us probably about 2 solid weeks of testing with one affiliate. He was touching about 20,000 people, so he was touching a reasonably large list with our product, and he responded back with his feedback. And he got a lot of feedback saying, we don't want to be in a monthly plan. We don't care what it costs. We'd rather pay up front and pay for it then. So what we did was we changed to a standard single price, and we tried a price that we felt was lower than we wanted to sell it for, but we thought we'd give it a shot. And immediately we made that change, sales started pouring in. So what we did is we raised the price, and sales did not slow down. And we've raised the price again, and we actually have two. We're actually testing with two prices right now for two different markets. We're displaying the product at two different price points. One might say that's dishonest, but it's not. You need to test your price points. You need to know which
Exactly.
one you're selling for. If somebody comes back and says, "Hey, I paid like an extra $150 more," then I'll say, "Hey, I'll give you a refund on the difference." It's not a big deal, you know.
Yeah.
And it's funny. We've sold the product anywhere from $67 to $300. Now, 300 it doesn't sell as well. I'll be straight up with you. But
Smaller
at
market.
200, yeah, 200 it sells very well.
Yeah.
It actually does. It does. I found that at 150 or 200 it sells about the same. So why not take the extra
Why not
$50?
take the extra? That's right. You found the sweet spot.
Well, two, our competitors are $200 and more. And sometimes, and that's a monthly fee. So to
Hmm.
them, we're actually doing good, you know. And one of our competitors is $500 for one time fee. And so it's finding that sweet spot, you know, because and also you'll find too, as you're testing and you're building your business plan and you're continuing to refine things, you know, it takes time. Nancy, you really hit the nail on the head on that one. You need to be testing as part of your business plan phase. And if you're writing these things down, and you're keeping records, and A, you're going to stay accountable, and B, when you're ready to put out 2.0 or put out a like product, you already have a list of what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you know where to start, and you shave months of research time off the docket right away if you write it down, if it's part of your plan. Um, Also, your business plan helps you develop your secondary documentation. We alluded to this in the beginning and in the first show, but it really does. I know, Nance, you're a marketing person, and you like to, above all else, see. Um, you like to see plans. You like when you go in. The worst thing that you can see, and you see, I know you see it a lot, is they have no plan, no idea, no budget. They have no idea what they want to do with their marketing. They can't even see their customer. Can you give us
Well,
more?
I think a lot of the problem too is that people don't really understand what marketing is. I've been beating this drum now on a regular basis for probably about a year. And I want to make the point because it's critical. Marketing is not advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing is about a strategy about how you're going to get your business out in front of your target audience and how you're going to increase awareness. And that strategy needs to be part of your business plan so that you know where you're going to go, so that then you can figure out what a budget is for advertising and promoting your business.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right. There are so many people that I just had an experience recently with somebody, I kept hammering and hammering and hammering for a marketing budget. And finally, he was quite exasperated and he says, well, it can be unlimited. Well, here's the reality. No, it can't. No, it can't. And it's impossible to expect anybody to be able to deliver any good results for your business if you throw the idea out there that there's an unlimited budget. Because at the end of the day, no, there's not. And if you give me a $20,000 a month budget for marketing, I can give you will give you a completely different plan than if you have $700 a month
Mm-hmm.
for a marketing plan. And you have to keep that in mind.
And as a good business owner, if you're bringing in a marketing person, and you know this from personal experience, Nancy, you want to know what is your cost and what is your level of expectation, and that becomes part of your plan as well. Now it doesn't necessarily be your business plan, but it becomes your marketing plan, which is a child or a sibling of your business plan. And what it does is it allows you to get that realistic expectation. For example, I'm looking right now at what's called pixel advertising, and
Right.
it allows us to lay pixels into whenever they come to our page. And if they go to Facebook, or if they go to Twitter, or if they go to Google or whatever, our advertisements will show front and center, or more predominantly, because we've targeted them as a potential customer who maybe have not yet bought. You ever notice that sometimes you'll go to look at something on Amazon, and then you go everywhere else, you go to Facebook, and they show that same product you just looked at on Amazon? It's almost, and the first time it happened to me, I was like, ooh, I'm getting a little creeped out. Is somebody watching what I'm doing?
It's
Yeah,
that big brother effect.
that's right. They are. They absolutely are. The technology behind this is just incredible. But the profit margins are also incredible as well, because that whole thing of getting in front of your customer multiple times is very important.
The retargeting.
Yeah, and they call pixelize it pixel retargeting. I think it is. That's actually what it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
But if you don't have an initial plan, how do you build a marketing plan? Now,
And how do you have a
secondarily,
budget around it?
right? How do you have a budget? If you don't have a business plan, how do you know how much you can spend? How
Yep.
do you know when it's time to shut the tap off and say this isn't working? I've watched businesses. This is what I've seen in storefront businesses. I see this all the time. And in a small town, about 30,000 people, so it's big enough that a business can succeed here, and it's small enough that a business can fail here, if that makes any sense. Um, and they fail rapidly. And what happens is, I know, for somebody to come in to leasehold a store from somebody, to build it out, to do the improvements, to put the stock in, it's anywhere from $100,000 to $1 million, $100,000 to $1 million investment. And I have watched stores come in and they're either A, wrong idea in the wrong place, wrong location, wrong focus, and it just I can see that there's no business plan. I can see it. I've actually went into one store one time and I said, "You guys have a really good idea, but why are you here?" Well, this was the cheapest place we could find. I said, "You don't have a business plan, do you?" And I was very pointed. And they were like, "How did you know?" you know, how's that for honesty? And the fact that, and I said to them, "You should never have set up shop here. You should have done your research and seen what your traffic is here. And it's there's a reason why you're paying what you're paying. If you were focusing here, if you had a store here, yeah, it's twice the rent, but you have 10 times the foot traffic because you're not renting store space. You're renting people who could come in your door. That's what you're renting. And I watched these guys come in and go out, come in. There's about a 6 month cycle on these businesses. They last anywhere from 3 months to a year, but 6 months seems to be about that watermark when they run out of money, and then they throw up their hands and go, "Well, it doesn't work." There was a lady who came into town. She set up a laundry store, and it's not that I frequent laundry stores. It stood out in my memory because she was actually a customer of mine. She was having some technical trouble, so I went in and helped her. And I went in and I talked to her. I didn't say anything to her at the time because she was exasperated with technology. But you know what came to my mind, Nancy? Good idea. You have a good idea, and your store's laid out really well. So you've got the store layout that's really good. It looks classy. It doesn't look sleazy. It looks classy, and I'm sure that it would entice women. But your location sucks. It's terrible. Your location, I would never know you're here. No, I
Right,
would never know you're here if I did. And she was on the main drag, but she was hidden in the back, and you
right.
never know she's there. And
Not
I'm
the
like,
signage or whatever to draw attention to her.
no, she did not have the signage or anything. She didn't have any attract factors, as I call them. And her store was small enough that it gets lost in the mirror of all the other stores. And she lasted 8 months, and she,
Yeah, which is unfortunate because if she had all those other things going for her and she had put into her business plan
mhm.
how she was going to promote and get foot traffic to her door, then perhaps that could have been budgeted for and she may have lasted. You know, what's interesting, I've got two examples uh, very recently of a couple of companies. Both of them are mobile apps, and both of them, I won't say either of them have failed as of now, but they're both floundering.
Mm,
One of them didn't allocate appropriate uh, marketing a marketing budget and a marketing plan. The other one, they just dumped money into the development of the app and built up all kinds of different things. And in both cases, I can come back and say that they either didn't have business plans or they were poorly thought out business plans or poorly executed business plans, because one of them invested too little money, one of them invested tons of money, and both of them are floundering.
mhm. I know from a programmer's point of view and working with customers, it's usually the concept, the idea that's presented to the person who's putting the idea together is missing a lot of details.
Right.
Um, when you approach somebody, and this will be for those folks who want to build a thing, whether it's software, a website, a widget, a dog washing station, or whatever it is, you need to have a really clear concept. And part of your business plan, especially if you're developing software, is where do the buttons go? What do the buttons
Mhm.
do?
Yeah,
And you're laughing, but it's true.
it is.
And
Those little simple
I know
things.
you know it's true because you've been through that. But and if you don't present them, because a programmer is not your imagination. The programmer, at the end of the day, cares about getting paid. He doesn't care about your idea. Let me be honest with you. He doesn't care, but he cares about getting paid. He cares about the fact that he's gonna do work for you, and you're going to pay him. You care about the product, and so you have to make sure you put in those stops, those checks in place. And part of your business plan also is giving the programmer a clear heads up. If it's going to take you 50 hours if it's going to cost me, $500,000 to develop this, hold back. Maybe we need to think about this because
Right.
when you're building your business plan, it's important for you to, and this is something you never even thought about mentioning, and I'm going to hit it right now, is you need to, when you get your idea to a place where it's ready to be developed, when you start bringing in the hired help, find out how much it's going to cost,
Mm-hmm.
find out the timelines, find out, you know, maybe, for example, um, our product had scope creep, and I'm the guy developing it, so I can continue cutting code for months if I want to. But I eventually I put a stop. I said on, and I would think it was like November 12th or something like that. I said, that's it. We're selling this product.
Right.
I'm going to get it out the door. We're going to put the last pieces into it. And I worked hard for about three. I remember Nancy, I was like night and day for 3 days to make sure I get it, and it had to get out on this day. Was
Yep.
it ready to go? Was it like Windows 10? No, it was Windows 1. And as we all know, we've had Windows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, no 9. I don't know where that is, but we have a Windows 10.
And there
That I
will
haven't
be
figured out.
and there will be Windows 11 and 12 and 13.
That's right. That's right. And I've brought out 12 fixes already and changes. And some of those fixes and changes came from customers. And they were good ideas. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that was good. That was a good idea. And I wouldn't have thought of that as part of it. But the thing is, my business plan stipulated that this had to get out. We had to start making money now. And because I know, because I'm looking, because when I have a plan, I start looking forward. I'm like, okay, I need to be able to, I need to be hold on to this money for a certain period of time for refunds, for the credit card companies. They want you to do a holdback for a certain period of time. So I know that I just can't take the money on it's mine. I have to wait. So that was part of my plan as well. And I haven't taken anything out of the business yet, but I will start taking money out in February because there's now money there that has been there for at least 30 days. So I know I can take that out.
Don't have to worry about
Um,
the chargebacks and the refunds anymore on that
that's right,
amount.
because those are done deals. Um, the So when you are approaching people, if you have a clear cut vision and a clear cut business plan, what happens is that business plan will evolve into a. I love the movie industry; they really illustrate this well. They actually build a storyboard, and that
Yes.
storyboard is just pictures, drawings, notes, whatever it is, but they're well laid out because they've thought about their business plan, they've thought about the product, they've thought about the end result, they've thought about their customers, and they've laid it out. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be pretty darn close to perfect when it comes to a storyboard.
Yeah,
And
as a marketer, that I do storyboards all the time. It's a visualization of your idea and a flow chart all in one.
Mhm. Now, then you approach your developers and say, okay, guys, let's say the movie industry. Here's my idea. Here's the movie. Um, here's the um, here's the storyboard. Who should be the producer? Who should be the director? Who should be the actors? Who can personify these things the best? And then you make those decisions and they get in contact with the people. Now, how much are you going to charge us to do this role? How much are you going to charge us to be the producer? How long is this movie going to take? Um, who is our market? Like, are we going to be marketing it through MGM, or who is it going to be marketed through? And all these things have to be thought out. Now, a movie is a big project. Like, look at Star Wars that just came out, billions of dollars. But your product at hundreds of dollars is just as important, and it has to be that important in your mind's eye.
And they knew who their target audience was already. They knew because of the history
Hmm.
that they had pretty much everybody is their target audience. Even though I don't go to movies, you have to live in a cave if you haven't heard of the new movie or seen a trailer.
Now, but you bring an interesting point up, Nancy. Is how do you develop a business plan if you're the first person to ever do this?
First person to do your idea?
That's it. Yeah.
Well, I'll go back to what I said in I think I mentioned it in the previous show, that there really is no new idea that exists.
Hmm.
Somebody out there has already done some iteration of what it is that you're doing.
Right.
So you find, and part of a good business plan is understanding your competitor as well, and what's your point of differentiation. So you
Right.
do your research, you find your competitor, you see what they've done, and you tweak it and you bring it into your own plan with your point of differentiation, with your personality stamped onto it.
Hmm. That's it. That's it. And you need to, and your business plan should be looking at your competitors. It should be looking at them and saying, okay, what are they doing right and what are they doing wrong? I have a business plan I'm actually drafting, and I can't mention any details on it because it's still too early. Um, but I'm watching a business in Canada that's a very big business, and I've been watching them very close now for about 4 years, and I'm waiting for the correct opportunity to step into their business realm. I've already started making plans. I've already
Hmm.
started building budgets. I've already started looking at the product itself and making sure that the product is what it should be. And I could be completely wrong, but what I want to do is I want to get things to a place where I can start to show the idea to my potential customer. And
Right.
I'm hoping within the next 12 months I'll be able to do that because it is it's a multi-billion dollar idea. It's not a multi-million dollar idea. It's a multi-billion dollar idea. And I'm waiting. Biding my time. And you know something? That's what's important here. I think everybody needs to realize, hey, we need to make money. You need to work. If you need to get a job while you're building your business plan, then get a job and just take care of your needs. But if you are on the hook and you got to make money today, this is not the right way to do it. I have people approach me all the time. I'm broke and I need to make money. I'm like, I don't have rent at the end of the month, and it's the 27th, and I need to make $5,000 before Friday. And I'm like, well, then you're already way too late.
Yeah.
Like go to the bank. Maybe they'll give you a loan.
Yeah.
That is not the right frame of mind to build a business plan within. The right frame of mind is to analyze your market, analyze your competition, analyze your ideas, and start to develop them, start turning them into a hard product. I've had great business ideas that have come to me that are very unique, they're not unique, so unique that they never have been developed, but I know that there's a market for them. I've just found a different spin on it. And there's one that I'm thinking about, like, and I'll share. It's we know how to make the kettle corn. The sweet, salty popcorn.
Right.
Simple product. It's just that the formula is elusive. To do it right, there's a lot of guys who don't do it right. I've tasted a lot of people's kettle corn, and people taste ours and they go, "Wow, this is way better." And it's the way it's cooked, and it's the ingredients aren't secret. It's the cooking oil, it's sugar, it's salt, and it's popcorn.
Right.
That's it. But the heat is important. How long you cook it is important. The device you cook it in is important. The way when you apply the sugar is important. All these little factors are important. And I tried to build a business relationship with a provider of the actual popping pot, so you could do it at home. This is the idea. Instead of having to go in the fair, you can come home and go, I want some corn, I want some cowboy corn. In 5 minutes, you got some cowboy corn, and it's fresh and it's really tasty. Um, and we actually tested it, and part of our testing was demonstrating to other people how to do it, and setting them up, and it was very successful. But I could not get the cost down on the actual equipment. I tried to negotiate with the provider, and they were non-negotiable. I looked at other providers. I ran into a roadblock that I couldn't surmount unless I was ready to dump probably about $500,000 into the idea with no expectation of profits. And now sometimes you got to take that chance, but I just don't have that risk. I don't have that level of income to do that risk. Maybe tomorrow I will, but not today.
Well, and it's
Uh,
important to point out that you actually did test the product out there. You knew there was a need for it, but the other components of the business plan didn't make it viable.
no, it's
And
not
that's
viable
another
for
reason.
me.
Yeah, and that's another reason why it's so important to make sure that you do your business plan, because another section that we're going to get into here shortly is about making your hobby your business. One of the things that you should find out through the development of your business plan is, why are you doing this business?
Hmm.
And sometimes you'll find out that your hobby is best left as a hobby,
Hmm.
that you
Hmm.
really don't want to make a business out of it. So that's another important thing, an important element, an important conclusion that can be drawn if you take the time and make the effort to put together a business plan.
Right. And these things just evolve. And something, sometimes you have the best idea in the world and it's a great idea and it'll sell, but you just can't put it into action. And your business plan will tell you that. if you've A, taken the time and done the thought process, and B, tested, and made it part of your plan to be testing those things, and it becomes clear to you whether or not this is something you should invest into. Maybe it could, like I said, it could be the best idea on the planet, but there might be an easier way to get that goal, meet that goal, um, and you just invest into another idea. And this other idea is another it is going to be big to get into, but I already, because of my experience in one area, I'm going to kind of transfer that experience into this other area and take the good things of my competitor and take away the bad things.
Right.
And I believe that my competitors lost their focus. I believe, and I've seen this. I've seen it. I analyze businesses all the time. There's a big department store in Canada. I won't mention her name. That has lost their focus, and they've been losing their focus steadily for about 15 years. And I'm seeing this. They've skydived and they've forgotten their parachute, and they still haven't realized that there's no parachute. They don't
Yeah.
realize they're falling. And you see the decline of their business. They've already completely discarded their reasons for being, what made them unique. Now they're just another department store, so there's no uniqueness about them. They have betrayed their customers, because one of their cornerstones was is they stood behind everything they sold, and they didn't care if you owned it for 10 years. If it didn't work, they give you your money back. And they were crazy successful in the 70s and 80s. And in the 90s, they started to lose their focus. They started losing their way. And whereas my generation and my parents' generation, this is the store we'd go to buy the big things, and
Hmm.
like the big appliances, because they stood behind their appliances. Now they don't. Now they
Yeah.
don't do it very well. And we've gotten burned. And my wife was saying, "Oh, we need to get a new washing machine." I said, "Well, we're going to go elsewhere because we're not buying it here again." And
Well, and you made a very important point there as well, that it's about, to take that phrase that we're all familiar with, it's about building a better mousetrap,
Mhm,
taking what your competitors are doing poorly and doing it better than them, and building out some of your own uniqueness to it. It's your software product that you launched here recently, that you're having some great success with. It's not that it was the first type of software to do what it does, but you built on the weaknesses of competitive products and made a better mousetrap.
and that's what it's all about. It's not trying to be um, completely different than everybody else. It's trying to build, like you said, a better mousetrap. It's trying to make it so it's more humane, it's faster, it's cleaner, it's easier. At the end of the day, people buy a solution if it's easy. If they don't like buying solutions that are difficult, they will if there's no other solution. But the trick to being in that market and staying in it is A, making sure that it's easy to use, and B, you stand behind your darn product, for crying out loud. That
Right.
you've got to. But we're going to wrap up this session. Any last thoughts on the business plan, Nancy?
Yes, do it.
Do it.
That's that's
Yes.
that's my final thoughts. Just make sure that you do it. If you don't write it down, if you don't start to think through all of the different nuances, the different components that make a business, all you've got is an idea and a dream.
Hmm. Very true, Nancy. And also, when you're doing it, really think it through. Really plan for it. Really work through it. Really talk to other people about it. Like these are you got to do these things. If you don't, you're setting yourself up for failure. There's a phrase in the Bible that says, "Counsel of many ensures success," and it's very true. So bring people in whom you can trust to test the idea and to bring it into fruition.
The
If
solid foundation is critical. You cannot build a foundation for a 3-story or a 4-story building on balsa wood.
it's got to be on solid granite. A solid foundation. Or your business will crater. If they said there's two things that shows you that brings your business to failure: success and failure. Like one or the other. And if you
Yeah.
haven't planned, you will fail, even if you're successful. I remember reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they had this wildly successful importing business, And because they didn't have a proper plan, and because they weren't watching the money, because they really didn't understand the processes as well as they should, and they really didn't have a good plan, it it imploded, and
Yeah.
it left him very bitter and sore for a little while until he realized his mistakes. And when he built his next business, he built it better. He built it on granite. He built it on firm foundation, and like you said, balsa wood. It wasn't on something that was going to be shifting underneath him. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if you are in the course, and this is beyond the podcast, there is going to be extra resources, which will help you step through a business plan and help you build it. And as well as part of this course, we will work with you on your business plan. Nancy, thank you very much. Lots of
Thank you,
good
Frank. Oh,
conversation.
yeah, always love being part of this. It's um, I think it's a good dynamic, and I'm sure that we bring great value to the listening audience through our discussions here.
I think so too. And now, make sure that if you haven't listened to the other shows, we did start out with a very general show, and we talked about paralysis by analysis right away. And we've had 2 shows on the business plan. Next show, we're going to be talking about turning a hobby into a business. It is a mindset shift. You need to listen to the show as well to take that quantum leap. It's one of the things that made a huge world of difference when somebody pointed it out to me. So stay tuned for the next show. Nancy, thank you very much.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. See you next time.
Thank you.